Motion passes unanimously. 2A, restructure, replacement county administration going from 1 FTE economic development specialist, grade 13, to 1 FTE grade D16 or 06. Is there a second? Second. Are you going to address it?
Madam Chair, yes, thank you. Madam Chair, members of the committee, as we looked at this position, I had the ER department take a look at the position because when we first established the economic development specialist, it was a brand new position. We really didn't know what the role would entail, and certainly we have seen that grown significantly over time. That position has a lot of autonomy as well. And just because of the level of responsibility that it entails, had the ER department take a look at it, and based on the job duties, there was a recommendation to upgrade that particular position.
Okay. Scott?
Madam Chair, I would just comment that the current position holder as the development specialist truly was doing a director's job and continues to in the near future. But as we replace that position, we need to get it categorized right. I looked at this, it makes perfect sense. I'm in full support.
Wonder if she would still wouldn't have left otherwise. Okay, she has done a great job. She's probably really helped to create what we ended up with. And I'm sure we'll see her many opportunities in the future with our latest. So anything else? With that, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. And this will go directly to the county board. The next item, thank you, Rhonda. The next item is restructure and replacement, and it's a 1 FTE end user technology specialist B111 to a 1 FTE end user technology services engineer grade C013. Susan, is there a motion to pass?
So moved.
Second? Second. We've talked about this before, but just since we're going to vote on it in our county board today.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm Susan Vreeland, the Director of Information Technology. So, Commissioners, this is really a strategic chain we've been working on probably since the course of last summer with the implementation of VDI. This position, Commissioners, is really someone who it's more on the engineering side of the desktop experience versus that hands-on working at your desktop. With VDI, a lot of the work being done is less at your computer and more on the server side because a lot of that work is being pushed out to the computer versus working at the computer. So what this position is really going to be doing is focusing more on the engineering side. We took a strategic look back at what we really need. This position, the person retired last summer, so we took our time, figured out what we thought we'd need, did some planning, looked at other counties that have VDI, how they're implementing it, and so this looks like a good complement to what those counties are doing. We wanted to move in the same direction.
And
excuse me, I'm losing my voice.
Oh, thanks. It's going to be a great enhancement to your area to be able to have that level.
You know, Commissioner, we think so. We're making good inroads with economic assistance. That was our first department, our pilot department. And so we're moving through that and seeing how this would fit within that. So it's a great fit. We're very excited. Good. We're anxious to see what the market will bring us as far as applicants go. So that's kind of the next step.
Yeah, well, we have to do this to get that to happen. So,
we do.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioners.
And we have not to this point had any public comment. So with that, we will adjourn our meeting.
We have an additional agenda, Madam Chair.
We have an additional one. Okay. The other, I know that we talked about this. Item 1A is new positions in administration. 3, 1 FTE HRMS business analyst position, grade 12, same grade 13, and HRMS master data analyst, grade 14. Do you want to talk about this, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, good morning.
Morning, Steph.
I'm Steph Baido-Zimmer. I'm the Director of Employee Relations. Before you this morning, you have 2 board action items, and I'd like to provide some background that serves for both as a foundation, just to provide some context for you. 18 months ago, which in some ways feels like just yesterday, it's gone that fast, I came into the Director of Employee Relations role on an interim basis, and a couple months later then was appointed in a regular capacity into the position. And at that time, I talked about our need to really analyze the work that the department was doing, as well as other human resources related work happening throughout the county. Since that time, we have worked and partnered with many individuals throughout the county to really analyze that work and centralize many responsibilities back within the function. And in addition, we have transformed processes, really gained efficiencies, and looked at the way we conduct our business to try and leverage how to do more with our current staff. Add to this, what has been more of that short-term, how do we do what we do now, we have had a long-term focus as well, really looking at a human resources management system and the potential for bringing that to the county to manage all of the employee master data and how we do our work. That would be utilized by all 2,000 employees and 1,000 retirees. So a very big, robust system, a long-term strategy. Add to it the COVID-19 pandemic, which brought all kinds of work to employee relations. We sort of joke that nearly everything that has happened related to COVID has touched employee relations. Not that COVID in and of itself we should make light of, but just that every single thing has really impacted employee relations, be it from leaves of absence, FAQ questions, health guidelines being issued, and more that we really tend to. Also helping our managers manage staff in a remote work environment. So with all of that, there were many moving parts. So certainly seeing an increase in our workload, a struggle, if you will, to keep up with doing that work. And I really had to analyze many different factors to understand which of those were long-term and which were short-term that would be shored up. So really looking at our volume overall. Do we have more volume? Are we handling the work in an efficient way? Are we going to be gaining some of those efficiencies and changing our processes so that the work volume will be better managed? Leaves of absence within our own team. So having some team members who are out, what does that do to the work that we're doing, and how does that impact the volume that I'm seeing in our ability to keep up? COVID, its impact, is that short-term, long-term, what is the tail, and how long will we be dealing with some of those issues? And then, of course, the push towards the HRMS system, looking long-term and how much of our time do we devote to that versus tending to today's needs. None of these in and of themselves easy to analyze, let alone all together, so it has taken a number of months. So I want to speak to, even though this is before you today as an additional agenda item, it is not being brought forward as a last-minute thing that has not been well vetted or analyzed. I've worked with administration and finance and IT to analyze some of these questions on the table to make sure that the ask in front of you is legitimate. I have also spent time looking at what work could we delay or postpone, because anytime there's more volume than you can tend to, rather than asking staff to self-sacrifice and put in the time, what can wait, what can be delayed, postponed, what can we negotiate with others throughout the county to really delay some of that volume? And the shorter answer is it's really difficult to be able to delay some of that work because of the nature of our work. We have federal and state legislation and laws that guide the timeliness that we must execute leaves of absence or various parts of our work, drug and alcohol testing, et cetera. These things are time-based. There are consequences if we don't do them. An OPEB analysis, audits that we partner with finance on. These things we don't have an ability to really adjust. We also can't really predict personnel matters or performance management and some of the other things happening, let alone things that happen at specific times of year like open enrollment and things that must be tended to. So there isn't really a capacity for us to say that we can delay some of the work to provide some relief. So how have we been able to get through it? The short answer is through a lot of self-sacrifice. The employee relations team is comprised of professionals, many nationally certified. We are so fortunate at Anoka County to have the team that we do. But there has been tremendous self-sacrifice, very early mornings, late nights, weekends, holidays, tending to what needs to be done for the greater good because we subscribe to the mission. We are truly mission-driven, but it is not sustainable. As a leader of the function, as a person participating in those extra hours to help my team, many of us who have come through many of these different roles to know how to do the work, it is all hands on deck, but it is not sustainable. I can't ask the people to continue working as hard as they are for a sustained time period that they have been and looks like they will continue to need to. So there's a very robust ask through these 2 board action items in front of you today. One of the board action items is related to the HRMS function within our team. So we've been accomplishing this work today primarily because of 2 leaders of this HRMS portion of our team, they have been investing the additional hours. So they do their day job, they help out where needed, they are in leadership roles, and then they spend their second or third shifts doing the work that quite honestly needs to be done by these business analyst roles. Many areas throughout the county have these roles to tend to the project management and system maintenance needs. We already today have the recruitment system that we use, the time and attendance system that we use, and the open enrollment system that we use. You typically would see a business analyst to oversee those maintenance and upgrades and project management and things you run into as you process that work, let alone an eye towards how we manage our employee data today through a number of different homegrown systems and potentially in the future through the HRMS system. The second board action item then tends to the other side of the employee relations department, which is helping support our county divisions and departments. So we have subject matter experts that come alongside those business leaders and tend to personnel management and recruitment and other needs that they have where they need our strategic counsel. One of the things I often talk about in employee relations is that it's not just that a situation occurs and we deploy employee relations resources to support it. You have to think about it from all layers. We could be dealing with one situation and we may have someone within our team working with the employee to answer their questions and give them guidance about their rights, responsibilities, and the steps they need to take. We also are working with the manager of that employee to help guide them in how they manage the performance, the timesheets, and tend to better helping that employee through the situation. And then we are also looking out for the interests of the county and how we manage those components if we're following the federal and state laws and if we're doing things the way we should be. So it's not just that one situation happens and we can deploy a resource. We have multiple people within the team looking at it through multiple angles because of the layers and nature of our work. So this would provide more support for those account teams, primarily an account team focused on human services, which comprises half of the employees of the county, if you will, and the other related to a number of very robust areas within the county as well, because we aren't able to, in a most timely manner, meet their business needs. We need to deploy more to help manage the daily work there. What's at risk if we don't deploy the resources, because we don't have an ability to stop any of this work, is burnout. I believe we will lose people because to keep working at this pace is not feasible. And then there will be a cycle of replacing the people and trying to get people in to do more than what is their FTE count. And also, I think mistakes could happen. We are at a place where people are tired. We've been running hard for a long time. And while we have delivered with accuracy and timeliness and customer service and have not compromised any of that, it is starting to take a toll, and I worry about mistakes that could happen. So
Not
the
to
asks are in
mention
front of you
home
today, and I'd
life.
be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Well, I can imagine how stressful it's been. I mean, even like a home life, so they have to bring that with them. And so I think it's a great timing, and you never fail to amaze me. You give so much information, you know this job well, and we're really thankful that you are here. So,
Madam Chair, can I move item 1A and B, please?
okay. Is there a second?
I will second.
We're going to redo that, Teresa. So thank you for all your hard work, and your knowledge is immense. And so this is going to increase your staff by 5 people. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. At the back end, it will increase by 5 people. And just to note that I have worked with finance, and you see noted in your agenda items the funding stream for this. So really utilizing carry forward dollars, also the budget reset process to really identify if there are FTE positions later that will sort of be a net transfer, if you will, of those FTEs or dollars. We're trying to really do this in a way that isn't just adding 5 positions to the county and additional funding. It's just that those processes of the budget reset, carry forward dollars, et cetera, it's a little early in that process to identify that. We just anticipate some of those changes. So I have worked very closely with Finance Administration to identify that process. But at the moment, so that we can begin recruitment, because that too is a process. It's not like
Oh, yeah.
this would happen today and there's help tomorrow. It really is a process. To be able to get going, we're saying that they're new positions, but really there is a desire and an eye towards trying to rectify that on the back end of those other budget processes.
Well, you just want to make sure that that stress situation is alleviated permanently. So thank you. Mr. Commissioner?
If I could comment, I just really want to thank Steph for her work within our Employee Relations Division. Most companies refer to this as human resources, HR, but here we call it ER. Our ER division was full of strife and turmoil long before Steph became in charge, and actually quite a while before that. We've been short-staffed in that division, from my perception, for at least 5 or 6 years, maybe more. And then going into COVID, of course, Steph very eloquently laid out the hassles involved with getting through all of that. And they've done it. We're not through COVID yet, but we're close. There will be a lot of tails involved with COVID, particularly from an employee relations perspective, with leaves and everything else that took place. It is one of the more troubling spaces for me to wrap my head around, is how much the federal government and state government get involved with your, not payroll issues, but your employee issues and how you deal with it. And the ramifications of doing it wrong are too great. So I'm very pleased with Steph's work. I'm happy to move these 5 positions into that area. And as you stated, Madam Chair, relieving the stress of the daily work of the people that lead that division and work hard in that division is important, because burnout and losing people that you trust, that are qualified and have those certifications, is truly a spiral that's hard to get out of. Once you fall into that spiral, digging out is really challenging. So to head that off with these additions, I think, is wise. It's not easy to do, though. Adding personnel is one of those things we've been very careful with in Anoka County, but I think it's one of those important things we do, that if we pay attention to it and do it properly, and through a budgeting process that we're working through now, I think we can prove the value of it and have a much better Anoka County workforce for that. Thank you.
Commissioner Reinert.
Yeah, so I certainly want to support this, because I think in the information we've received in this moment, it's needed. But, some of the reasons for these additions too, we're hearing it's COVID, and we don't know what the future is going to be. And I'm wondering if there's going to be a reevaluation of these positions then in the future, in case the activity level that we're experiencing now decreases.
So 2 points related to that. So in the board action item, I mentioned that while today it is COVID, and certainly a lot of our work is driven by that, we've already identified other work within the county, critical work related to affirmative action, and also some of our required learnings for all employees. There are 6 or 7 topics of required learnings that we should be educating and having our employees take these trainings every single year. There are things like that already identified that are not within our function today that will likely fill in if COVID should taper down or leave. So it's not to say that there can't be efficiencies gained or an evaluation of in the future if the positions are still needed. There's many things that we don't exactly know or can anticipate. So I think that should always be something that annually, if not more than that, be evaluated. I don't think it's just we do this for all time and assume that everything's great. There could be many moving parts that dial up or down the work. So a commitment to doing that, but know that there are already other critical elements identified, not yet in the department. We aren't fully through all of that, getting everything centralized that really should be housed with the people who have the education and training to manage some of those mission critical things. And then the other piece is related to the HRMS position. So in the board action item 2, we talk about a county pooled approach to this role, because I mentioned many of the divisions and departments throughout the county have this technical analyst, operations coordinator, or business analyst. It's known by a couple different titles, but the job functions are similar. That there may be an opportunity as we continue to look at county solutions, centralized approaches to our work that involve many different departments and divisions, that we have a pooled approach to these business analyst roles. Today, they're assigned within the divisions and departments. In our future, might that still be the case, and or have a pooled approach? So as you deploy a new system, there's a pool of these individuals available to help do some of that work versus every time adding to all the different departments and divisions. So that is noted in here and is something that we have discussed with administration and finance and IT, that we have an eye towards that in the future of exploring that pooled approach, see if it may come into the mix, and if there's also consistency in what this position description, role, et cetera, is, which departments have them or don't. So I think a combination of those 2 things will ensure that we don't just adhere to employee relations in a silo and then just hold on to them if we don't need them. I think there needs to be continued evaluation as we go, and we have a commitment to doing that. We want and need the resources that we need, not more or less than that. So that's especially why I want to do such deep analysis to make sure if I did need to come forward, that it was legitimate. I think in our future, we need to keep doing that on a regular basis, too.
So there are objectives that you've been wanting to implement in the past that now you might be able to in the future with these extra resources.
Yes, exactly.
All right, thank you.
Good. Okay, are there any other comments? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion passes unanimously, and they both go to the county board. Thank you very, very much. Good work.
Madam Chair, just one point of order. I guess it's written up to have the public comments at the end on our write-up, but, we've agreed to
Yeah.
have them at the beginning from now on, and so I'm assuming that they'll be presented to us that way in
We
the future.
discussed it earlier, and because it wasn't written up there, I forgot to bring it up, but she had already told me there was no public comment beforehand,
All right, thank you.
and there has been none since. Okay, with that, now we're adjourned.
All right.